I hope you're having a fantastic day. I wanted to pop in and talk to you today about the journey of becoming an entrepreneur. Yes, a little different than usual, right? You're used to me talking about QuickBooks, tips and tricks, and I was reflecting recently on business. If we've never met before, hi, I'm Candus Kampfer. You probably know me best for my QuickBooks tips and tricks. And how did it all start was something I was thinking about recently. So last month, I went on a vacation. I went to Sedona, Arizona. Have you ever been there? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful red rocks. And I went there to just kind of take a few days to myself. It was my first ever solo trip. If you have never taken one, I highly recommend it. It's a good thing to do, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're busy. And so while I was there, I stayed at an Airbnb and I was visiting with the lady that owned it. She's an herbalist and we just started talking. If you don't know this about me, if we ever start meeting and you tell me you have a business, I want to know all about it, everything. It's just who I am. And so I started asking her about her business and we started visiting and pretty soon she started telling me about how she's been thinking about creating an online business, taking her business online. And of course I got excited. I said, well, what do you want to know about taking your business online? And she goes, I don't know anything about it, but somebody came to Sedona. It is kind of a tourist spot and told her like, you definitely need to do this online, help people create tinctures online. People want to know about it. Do it. She's like, but I have no idea. I go, well, I actually have an online business. What do you want to know? And so we started talking and that actually comes up. I remember we were interviewing for some new team members over the last few months. And a lot of people were like, I want to get to do what you're doing. I want to create online. I have this purpose and this meaning, and I want to be able to put it together. And so I started thinking about it. I don't actually teach how to start an online business because, I give tips on QuickBooks and how to use that for your business. Yet I've had people in my life who've been fundamental in helping me create my business, my life, the way I help to get to serve you. And so I started thinking about that. And I thought about how in 2014, I thought, I want to help more businesses online. If you don't know, I started teaching and started my YouTube channel because I had gone to see my hairdresser and she was going through divorce, struggling. Life was different and she was trying to figure out how to become profitable, which over the last few years, some of us have had to ask that, like, what pivots do we need to change or do in our business? And because of that, I started a YouTube channel and I started creating videos. And I did it part-time because I was also a mom, right? The whole reason I originally started teaching online was so I could be a mom to my two little boys. At the time, it was just one though. And I remember, but I had a purpose and I wanted to give back and I wanted to teach. And that is why I started my business online. Let me know if you have like the reason you start your business. It's a good thing to remember because sometimes when we get caught up in the day-to-day things of being busy, taking care of our customers, teams, whatever it is, we forget the reason we start our business. So take a moment and write that down. Share with me. Why did you start your business? So fast forward, that was 2014, 2018. If you don't know, my husband had a hardwood flooring business the entire time that I was teaching QuickBooks. We used it for our business to learn job costing, which you've probably heard me talk about. And in 2018, he was like, hardwood flooring is hard work. It is labor intensive. I don't want to be doing it all the time. And so he's like, what if you take this little side hobby and do something with it? And so that is when I decided to really step in and start doing more with my business. And I met somebody. It sounds funny. His name is actually James Wedmore. He's my mentor and he started helping me with my business and it changed, and my husband, and it totally changed the direction of our business. And so whenever people ask me, they say, Candus, how did you do your business? Yes, I had foundation, I had started it. But when I started learning from James, it gave me more of fundamental and pillars. So whenever somebody talks to me and they say to me, there's obviously certain things to do in your business, just like any business. But as I started really putting some of these pivotal things in place, like consistent training, consistent content, building a way to communicate with you outside of just social media, but also through email, right? Creating trainings that could help you and take what I did further. That is when my life changed. So fast forward to today, I think about all these things I've done along the journey to get me to where I am. And one of them is definitely James. He's helped us a lot. And so I thought about, I know he's getting ready to do a training a live class that he'll do virtually, so you don't have to be there in person. And I thought, well, if you've ever thought, because people ask me this all the time, they go, Candus, I want to start online. Or maybe you already have an online business. Maybe you have a YouTube channel or you're doing Instagram or TikTok, but you want to take it to another level. How do you do that? And even though you know me for QuickBooks, you only know me for QuickBooks because I started putting these things in place, and they've allowed me to be a mom who can stay home and take care of our kids. If you've ever thought about doing something online or taking your business, or you're just like curious, you want to hear from somebody who's super successful in their business to get tips, whether you want to go online or keep your current business, highly recommend registering for James's training and attending it. I will be attending it as well. So I look forward to seeing you. It'll be virtual, but I'll be there. If you see me, make sure you say hi. Let me know in the chat. Have you thought about doing something online with your business? I hesitate sometimes because I'm like, oh, you guys know me for QuickBooks, but only because I put all these things in place. And when the pandemic happened, I was so grateful I had already put them in place, right? Because I was able to serve more people, not just my local community, but people all over the world, right? And so if you've thought about doing something like that, I will share with you how you can register for James's. So he's going to be doing a 3-part series sharing what you could do in your business, how to get started if this is like a brand new idea that you've never thought about before. And you can register to save your spot. It's completely free and you can just go to learn. This is what I'm going to tell you. No matter if you decide to do an online business or anything else, taking the time to learn from people has been the biggest thing that's made the difference in my life. Because if we try to think from only the things we know, only things we've ever heard, we don't know what's possible. Sometimes people ask me, they say, what has been the biggest difference that's helped you like really grow? We recently hit over 3 million views on YouTube, and it's surrounding myself with people who inspire me. And James is one of those people. So when you meet him, if you have never watched any of his trainings or he's on TikTok or any of those things, Instagram, he gives great advice, not just for business or online business, but for business in general, for mindset. That is like the one thing he's known for. He has a podcast. I'll link it down below later. Jonathan and I were actually on it. We talked about our journey. So if you'd like to check that out, I'll put the link below. But it's definitely one of his superpowers is how you think about business is what you create in business. Let me know if that resonates with you. And I look forward to seeing you in James's training, The Rise of the Digital CEO. It's going to be starting on June 2nd. So make sure you save your seat. Let me know if you're going to attend below. And I want you to take the time to think back about your journey in your business. So often we think people just like get there and we compare ourselves to where they're at. And the truth is everybody has a journey. Sometimes it seems like it's just overnight, but it typically isn't. All of us have to put in time and patience. So if you've been in the process of whether you're creating an online business, an brick and mortar business, this is the one thing, if you take nothing else away from this, I would love for you to consider to be patient with yourself. To know that when I started in 2014 and I thought that like I would just have people would subscribe. It took me a year to get 100 subscribers. It took me another year to get 1,000, right? And eventually becomes exponential. But it didn't start that way. So no matter where you're at in your business, whether it's online, in person, bookkeeping, construction, like whatever it is that you do, remember this. Be patient with yourself. Pivot when you need to. My team jokes, I'm like the queen of pivot. But also, patience, stick-to-itiveness, consistency are going to be the keys to your success. Know what makes you unique and special. I could tell you all the different things that I've done, and maybe I'll do another video. Let me know. Would you guys like to know some of the things I've learned, like my lessons, my top lessons from creating my business over the last few years? Let me know. That's something you'd also be interested in. Thank you for being here. Have an amazing day. Leave me a comment below. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. And if it's your first time being here, subscribe and say hi. All right. Talk to you soon.